Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast produced by a British biased bloke with a massive Swede full of very questionable wheel knowledge. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome everyone to my 2025 Emilia Romagna post-race CHINWAG, and I am not alone. I am of course joined by Minton, the miniature sausage dog. If you're watching live on YouTube, after the fact on YouTube, Spotify video version as well, or Apple Podcast after the fact. Well, sorry, Apple Podcast people, audio only, you can't see the dog. But just picture him in your mind, right? You must know by now, I've been utilising Minton as a marketing arm of the Tommo F1 enterprise since the very beginning. Don't worry, he gets paid back in really good dog food, don't you, mate? Really good. You do plenty fine, buddy. But we're not here to talk about sausage dogs today. No, we're here to talk all about the 2025 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Welcome everyone in the live chat. Kai, Halita, Doha, Kev, Gloomy, Avkid, Ruby, Kiki, Dan, Formula Uno, Halita, Milk, Mini Ninja, Jerome, Techno Andrew, BW in NJ, Shannon, Michael, and the rest of you. When the rule of thumb now for these streams is when I'm full screen, I'm a bit more interactive with the chat, and then when we're split screen, I'm getting through the bits and bobs, right? Cracking on with talking about another Grand Prix, round 7 of the 2025 Formula 1 season. Let's start. Please, live chat, help me. Give me some numbers, a rating out of 10 for this Grand Prix, round 7 of 24. What did you make of Imola? A track that, by all accounts, does seem to be the last time we'll be visiting, which is sad. I would have liked to have gotten to Imola. I will be honest, it's not a favourite of mine in terms of I don't have that sentimental attachment to Imola from the legacy point of view, I guess, because when I was a kid watching F1, Imola wasn't, I don't know, I just don't really recollect it. And for me, a lot of my exposure to racing when I was young was through video games as well, and Imola was just never a track that was on Forza, basically. It's kind of honestly, that's a big part of why I love Mugello so much, because that was on every single title. To me, Imola, but actually, by Imola standards, I thought it was pretty good, And Eric, thank you for the $5 Canadian as well. Appreciate that. You've given it an 8 out of 10. We're seeing a lot of 8s, a lot of 6s, a lot of 7s. Well, before I just say goodbye to Minton, all right? He's gonna bid farewell, right? He's here for the promo for the early doors to hook you in, but now it's time for you to go and pester your mother. So I'll release the hound this way. Go on, go find your mum. Lovely jubbly. Right, okay. So I'm seeing a lot of 8s, a lot of 7s, some 6s. Let's start a poll. Let's give it a 8 or more, a 7, a 6, or a 5 or below. Seems to be the general consensus. I can't type today. Race rating. What do you think? Okay, if you're here live on YouTube, 469 of you so far. Nice. Get in that poll. Let me know what you think. We'll get a rough number and then we'll compare it to mine, won't we? Emilia Romagna, Imola. It's just a shame, isn't it? There's just like one overtaking place, really. We saw a couple of looks at moves elsewhere, but in terms of people pulling off clean overtakes without relying on someone else making a mistake, it was pretty much exclusively into turn 1, which is a decent overtaking place, and it's an exciting one. I'll give it that, Imola, right? It might only have one proper overtaking opportunity, but it's so quick, that part of the track. And obviously you've got the gravel on the outside, and we saw, we've seen many a driver over the year come a cropper being pushed out wide, and we saw it again today, which I'm sure you knew I was thrilled about because the driver involved. Let's see what you're saying. 59% of you have given it a 7, 25% of you an 8 or more, 14% of you a 6, and 1% of 5 or below. For me, it's a 6. It was good. It was good. Will it go down in folklore? For me, no, it won't. Okay, there was an unbelievable move at the start to take the lead, and then Max took off. No challenge, really. Just a stellar drive from the Dutchman. There was some scraps about. It wasn't a bad race. 5 is a bang average race. Not bad, not good. This was better than average, but I'm not giving it more of a 6 sorry everyone. If you're giving this an 8 or more, you know what, actually, if you're giving this an 8 or more, then good for you, because you are easily impressed in life, and it's better to be easily impressed in life than be difficult to impress, because then you're happier, because then more things make you happy, even if they're not that. I'm back online any second now. Hopefully I've gone to Wi-Fi, according to the computer. This always happens in the middle of a live stream, okay? This is nothing to do with YouTube. This is literally to do with my internet now. Just being like, no, you know what? You can stop being on wired in internet. You can just be on Wi-Fi, right? Jesus, honestly. I'm here criticising you giving my internet connection. Right, let's do another poll, shall we? Let's do another poll, right? Let's do another poll. Okay, rate my internet connection. I can't even type. Out of 10. So is it a 10 or above? Is it a 5? Is it a 2? Or is it a minus 1,000? Let me know in the poll. Honestly. Gotta have words with my internet service provider on this one, as it buffers. Yeah, we get buffering as well, just for good measure. If you are getting buffering on this stream, please just give it a refresh and you should be good. So I've given this one a 6 out of 10, and I think that's more than fair. I had a good time. It was fun, but no more than that, okay? No more than that. So let's briefly go back over qualifying, shall we? Okay, Oscar Piastri put it on pole, just ahead of Max Verstappen. Was it 34 thousandths, I want to say, of a second? Very, very tight margins. George Russell P3 on a medium tyre as well. Lando Norris not quite hooking it up, and it's not been the first time for Lando overlap his come a cropper. And then Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll P8. Alonso P5, Stroll P8. What are they doing up there? Unbelievable weekend from Aston Martin in terms of the pace. Now, spoiler alert, they might not have come away with any points, but I'll tell you what, whatever the upgrade is, whatever Newey lunch breaks, because apparently Newey's only been given any time to the 2025 car in his lunch breaks, right? All his actual working time is focused on the 26 car. That's all you need, clearly, right? Clearly, give Adrian a nice Kiev, okay, alongside some, boiled vegetables and some mashed potato, and then a couple of 25 car sketches. Job's a good one, all right? Clearly, he could cook. And then Sainz and Albon, P6 and P7, both did a very, very good job. Both very, very close again in qualifying. Sainz just edging out Albon. I know that's a sus thing to say, but you know what I mean. Hadjar P9, once again, unbelievable job from Isaac. And then Pierre Gasly in the Alpine sneaking in to P10. And also a quick update on my internet connection. 8% of you giving it a 10 or above, very generous. 6% of you gave it a 5. 16% of you a 2. And then 70% of you have given my internet connection a minus 1,000 out of 10. Very good, very good. I will forward this information on to my internet service provider, okay, and let them know what the people think, okay? Oh dear. And then, of course, qualifying, the big talking point coming out of quali, wasn't it? The Ferraris. I mean, there were quite a few big talking points. Because, don't hate me, but I didn't actually watch it live, and then watched it after the fact. And I was around my mate Kerry's house, and we opened it up, and he was like, it's a 1 hour 50-minute broadcast for qualifying. Why is it so long? We're like, oh, something must have happened. And something did happen twice. But before we get into that, yes, the Ferraris, Leclerc and Hamilton not happy at all with their one-lap pace. Fortunately, in the race, it wasn't so bad for the Ferraris. But, Leclerc and Hamilton, P11, P12. Kimi Antonelli, P13, a difficult qualifying for him as well. Gabriel Bortoleto getting into Q2 out qualifying. Nico Hulkenberg, very good from Gabby. And then Franco Colapinto. Oh, dear. So, shunt for him in the same spot that, we had a couple of people. Lawson had a spin there, didn't he? Hadjar, I think at some point, didn't Hadjar have a spin there? Or was it just Lawson? I can't remember. At some point during the weekend, anyway. It catches you out, man. If you run a bit wide, turn 2, and you keep it pinned, and Colapinto came a cropper there. He's obviously pushing a bit too hard and didn't just lift off, unfortunately. And put it in the wall on his very, very first qualifying session for Alpine. Then Liam Lawson got caught out. He got definitely got caught out looking at the quali times after by the subsequent red flag that was dropped. A bunch of drivers lost their laps at the end, which was a shame. And I've tried to account for that in my quali head-to-heads as best I can. Okay, Hulkenberg P17 didn't do a good enough lap. He did get his lap in, as did Ocon, as did Behrman, but then he didn't. Super harsh on Ollie, actually. And in the quali head-to-head, I have included Ollie's lap that was gotten rid of because come on, like, it was such fine margins. Ollie deserves to have that lap included. Esteban's lap came before Ollie's as well, so that is a fair comparison. And then, of course, Yuki Tsunoda. And as soon as that crash happened, as soon as you can't see that car upside down, you know full well that all of the media publications are going to be rinsing that still to death. Rinsing it. Yuki upside down, over the barrier, very dramatic, big crash. Of course, the main thing is that he's all right. He was able to jump out the car, which is a testament to the safety of these cars. As much as we all complain about these cars being too big, too cumbersome, a big part of that is safety, and a big part is that it allows drivers to have crashes like that and just walk out and live to fight another day, quite literally. Live to race, the day after. Pretty crazy. Big crash for Yuki. Pushing he said it himself, pushing way too hard. For your first push lap in qualifying, didn't even get... In Q1, you're in a Red Bull, Yuki. He shouldn't need to be pushing that hard. He said it himself. He was very self-critical, and as he should be, because he's had 5 weekends now in that Red Bull. And to make a mistake like that in his first push lap, come on, man. At least get a lap on the board so it gets you out of Q1. Come on, save that one for Q3. I remember when Checo did the same. It was at Monaco, wasn't it? It's Monaco 23 or 24 when Checo, on his very first Q1 push lap, put it in the wall at turn 1. And it's like, come on. I know that Red Bull's a tricky car. I know that it's been, chewing up and spitting out loads of drivers over the years. But just for your first Q1 push lap, just give it a little bit of margin at least. Come on. Was it 23? There you go. Thank you, live chat. This is the good thing about having these live, right? The buffering and the internet and all that stuff is annoying, but also you can tell me things that I don't know because your collective hive mind is... Well, we say that, actually. I don't know. I mean, the bangers and clangers predictions, I think I might have won this weekend. But yeah, Yuki didn't even set a time. So that was a shame for him. So, quali head-to-heads, we are keeping on top of these over the course of the season. We've had 9 qualifying sessions, including sprint qualifyings, so far this season. Out of a total of 30 we'll get by the end of the year. And I'm keeping an eye on the head-to-heads. Of course, we have to swap out Doohan for Colapinto this weekend, which means we have a sample set of 1 qualifying session between Gasly and Colapinto in the Alpine. 0.319 puts that as the second biggest qualifying gap of the 10 teams so far this year. Of course, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Yuki didn't set a time, so this is not applicable in my big Google sheet. So that hasn't changed from last week. It was 0.864 advantage max last week, and it's 0.864 today after Imola. And who knows for Monaco? Monaco is... I'm concerned. I'm not going to lie. If you're not comfortable in your car, which Yuki's clearly still got a way to go, Monaco could be challenging. Could be challenging. Then we have, right, so yeah, let's go through all of them. In third, it's Alonso Stroll, 0.279 of a second advantage Alonso. Then Russell Antonelli, 0.269. Hajar Lawson, 0.264. Leclerc Hamilton, 0.2 on the dot. And everyone's typing F in the live chat, which is great, which is fantastic. And it's my... dropped frames. I don't know why it's happening, but it is. I'm just going to carry on. Then Hulkenberg Bortoletto 0.148, Ocon Behrman 0.135, Piastri Norris 0.123, and then the smallest gap, because Science did out-qualify Albon, but only marginally, so the average advantage Alex is 0.085, the closest quali head-to-head so far of the season. It's getting, you know what, for and again, look, Gasly, Colapinto, it's their first quali session. Basically the entire field is within 3/10 of their teammate, apart from Red Bull. Yuki didn't get an opportunity to set it right this year because he didn't even, this race, because he didn't even get a lap. Yuki, please, man, just get a lap in Q1 first. Just toot all around, right? Just get a lap in. and then push after. Come on, behave. So yeah, I think this is a more accurate, more representative is the word, of the actual one lap pace deficit between teammates. Okay, so and also certain ones in this instance. So for example, Hajar Lawson, I looked at, because Lawson didn't get his final push lap in because of the red flag, I then looked at their equivalent laps, takes the win as OBS Studio disconnects. Damn, the internet's not playing about tonight, is it? Max Verstappen wins ahead of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. This Red Bull, 2 McLarens, I think we're going to get a lot of that this season, aren't we? It's going to be the new Hambotver or Hamverbot or Bothamver or one of those, right? It's the Vernor Pia. It doesn't quite roll off the Vernor Pia, Pianova, Pianvernor. I don't know which one's the best. Let me know in the comments below. Lewis Hamilton P4, Alex Albon P5. It's a mixture of emotions. It's a mixture of emotions for me on this one. Charles Leclerc P6, George Russell P7, Carlos Sainz P8, Isaac Hadjar P9, and Yuki Tsunoda recovered from the back pit lane start to P10 in the end. And then Fernando Alonso P11, Stroll P15 as well. The Aston Martins both out the points. Hulkenberg P12, Gasly 13, Lawson, then Stroll, Colapinto, Behrman, Bortoletto, Antonelli technically finished even though he didn't, but he was completed enough of the race to be classified. And then Ocon, of course, conked out early doors in P0 because he just didn't finish. Am I from Antarctica? I do think this sometimes settle. I do think sometimes my internet is going via Antarctica because that is the only possible explanation for everything on my end saying excellent connection, and then all of a sudden internet just decides to poo itself. But there you go, never mind. So those are the race results. Max wins, which means the driver standings are as follows: 146 Piastri, 133 Norris, 124 Verstappen. I feel like this is going to go the distance, which is what I want to see more than anything. I want to see a title decided in Abu Dhabi, okay? Come on. Let's keep this going. Piastri, give Norris a couple of wins. Piastri will win some more. Verstappen will come and clutch it, and this is good, all right? And maybe if Mercedes pull their finger out, and I thought they were going to this weekend, and that was my big failed prediction. Because, I mean, George going P3 in qualifying on a medium tyre. I'm like, okay, bro's cooking. And then in the race, I don't know if George just, the medium was struggling after 10, 15 laps, and George just, dropped his guts and was like, we need to get this car in because it's struggling too much. And the amount of people who made a one-stop work was surprising going into this. But still, 99 points. He's still only 47 points behind Oscar Piastri in the lead, which is a lot. But then there's many races still to go. So let's not fully give up on the George Russell 2025 Drivers' title dream, because, I mean, it's a hell of a dream if that does happen. That's one of those really weird dreams, that kind of knock you out for half the day because you don't really know what's going on. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, P5 and 6 with 61 and 53 points respectively. Albon, 40 points. Come on. 40 points for the boy. Love to see it. Ocon, Stroll. Obviously, Colapinto has joined the driver standing list, so now we have an asymmetrical list because we have 21 drivers. Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. So I accounted for that in the gaps. And then when there is inevitably a 22nd driver who randomly joins halfway through the season, probably in an Alpine, probably Paul Aaron, then you can have 22, right? There you go. Happy days. Lovely jubbly. Not too much movement position-wise other than that. Obviously, Sainz got a few points on the board. He was kind of the bigger mover. Hadjar got a couple of points. Yuki got a point. Not much more to cover other than that, though. No big position changes, just Max closing that gap to the McLaren boys. And then team standings, 0 changes in terms of the order. Still McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, Williams, Haas, Aston, Racing Bulls, Alpine, Sauber in that order. And McLaren continued to extend their Constructors' Championship lead at the front as well, even though they didn't win the race. Because, of course, Red Bull were relying entirely on Max at the moment, whereas both McLaren boys are on the podium. Makes sense. And Avkid, if I was to shave my head, I think Hannah would leave me. So if you want to be responsible for my divorce, then so be it. I don't think you should stick around for skinhead Tomo. All right, we've done that before in the past. All right, in my past, I have done the buzz cut, and it's not pretty. All right, it's not pretty. Okay. And then finally, before we take a little, we have a little chat. We have a little live chat catch up. F2 and F3. We did, of course, have both rounds in Imola, both junior series outside of F1 Academy. But we had F2 and F3 this weekend. Alex Dunn took his second feature race win of the year in F2. A very, very good drive from the young Irishman ahead of Luke Browning and Dino Beganovic. Decent little F2 race. Didn't watch the full thing, just watched the highlights. Looked like a pretty decent race, though. Yeah, I mean, the junior formulas show that, it's true. When you do have equal machinery and you don't have cars that can be developed to create loads of dirty air, even a track like Imola can have great wheel-to-wheel racing and really exciting. It was good. It was good. Shame that we can't have that more often in F1. It's a fine margin, isn't it? Because you want to preserve that engineering challenge in Formula 1, because that is a fundamental part of the sport that I really respect and like. But then when you see how good the racing is in junior formulas, you're like, come on, so good. And then in F3, Santiago Ramos took the win, the young Mexican driver. Decent little F3 race as well. Caught the highlights of that. Good junior races this weekend in terms of entertainment as well. I thought it was all in all. I think Sebastian Montoya, wasn't he, in the F2, and Victor Martin both stalled, which was a shame for them because Victor's been right up there in the title fight. But yeah, Alex Dunn taking 2 feature race wins is pretty vibes for the young McLaren driver, and maybe that is the new system, because McLaren have they've got Ugo Chukwu, who's part of the McLaren Junior program. You've got Dunn, you've got Camara who's in F3. Is he a McLaren Junior, or am I getting that wrong? Either way, maybe that is new. Because McLaren don't have a vacant seat, right? They've got Norris and Piastri. They're sorted for F1 drivers, but if they can give young talent opportunities, like with Bortoletto, and get a bit of a payday by selling them off, then it's almost like what Brentford and Bournemouth and Brighton do. Bringing young talent. This is a football analogy. If you don't follow football, you won't know what I'm talking about. Bringing young talent, scout it, build them up, and then sell them off for a profit. You know what I mean? Oh, is he FDA? Why did I think Kamara was a? Why did I think he was a McLaren driver? There you go. Ferrari. I was very sure he was part of one of the academies, but fair play Ferrari. They've got Kamara on the books. I'll have to see it. Okay. Before we carry on, a little reminder. Enjoying this podcast, please give it a good rating. 5 stars would be lovely. A comment, engage however you can. It helps get the CHINWAG out to the world. That way I can take a little sip of me drink. Any super chats knocking about? All right, I think we had a couple. Thank you, Ragav, for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. As a Carlos fan, this weekend confirms that on raw pace he clears Albon. He did a 15.1 in quali, which was 3/10 of Albon's best lap. Ooh, interesting. So that on raw pace he clears Albon because he was. Oh, actually, I've got the wrong screen up. Sorry, Max went undercover. He did, as Franz Herrmann, which is the joke that's been getting made constantly ever since it happened. This weekend confirms that on raw pace he clears Albon. He did a 15.1 in quali, which was 3/10 clear of Albon's best lap. Isn't Ragav, just hear me out here, right? Isn't that like me picking, I don't know, a lap where Alex might be, I don't know, 3/10 clear of Sainz, and being like, based off this one lap, this one data point, Alex is clear of Sainz. What do you reckon actually comes to the more likely conclusion? All right, I'm not just being sarcastic here. All right, what do you think's the more representative data set? Do you think it's a single point of comparison in Q2, or do you think it is the average over 9 entire qualifying sessions? I'm going to say the average over 9, Ragav, all right? Carlos is right now very, very close to Alex. Carlos is a very, very adaptable driver, and he's showing it right now. So fair play to Carlos, and he deserved a lot more from this weekend. He deserved a lot more. Why have I gone to Franz Hermann again? He deserved a lot more from this weekend, did Carlos. He was on the wrong strategy, ultimately. And if he hadn't been on the wrong strategy, he was ahead of Alex on track. He probably would have stayed there as well. I've got no reason to believe otherwise. But I don't think either driver is clear of the other, to be honest. And I think the evidence points to them being super close, whether it's you looking at qualifying head-to-heads and whether you're looking at managing over a race distance. So we will agree to disagree on this one, Ragav, all right? But you're entitled to your opinion as much as anyone else, okay? But if you're talking bad about Alex, I swear to you, I'm joking. Thank you, Mr. Hoppy, as well. FIA throwing full safety car for Antonelli versus VSC for Ocon for the same problem in the same spot screams we're doing this for the drama. Now, Mr. Hoppy, this is a very good point because I brought this up on Twitter and it was like, yeah, it's weird because Ocon pulled up, only a VSC. Antonelli pulled up, coming out the same corner, further up the road, but your immediate glance is like, that's basically the same spot. Why is one a VSC and why is one a safety car? Now, of course, a lot of, especially posting this on Twitter, obviously a lot of people straight away is like, the FIA hate Max, the FIA want to hold Max back, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know what the answer was. Apparently, it's because where Ocon was next to a escape road, so they could push the car off track quite quickly with some marshals. Where Antonelli was, that little bit further up the road, they had to get a crane. Apparently that's why. So, you know, conspiracy theory, that all you like, that's apparently why that was the case. But it was weird. Like, at the time, I was like, what? Why is one a safety car and one a VSC? That's weird. But apparently that's why. So, there you go. Thank you, Taylor, for the 2 USD. For an internet upgrade, thank you. That will go towards the... if you've got an ISP to recommend, please let me know in the comments below. That will go towards that budget. And thank you, Karthik, as well. Piastri was the most un-Piastri-like defence. With the most un-Piastri-like defence, should I say. Yeah, look, I got to say, I don't say this often, I kind of agree with Jacques Villeneuve. I think Oscar was caught a bit napping. I don't think he was expecting. I think maybe just a bit... I think he just thought, all right, sweet. I mean, kept George behind me. Max is a good amount behind me. I'm on the inside. Job done. I ain't got to worry. And Max saw a gap and he took it. He took it. He absolutely took it. Louisma, thank you for the super chat. You might check the race fastest laps. The difference between Albon and Sainz is huge. It's huge in... You got to give me more than that. Huge in advantage Albon or Sainz or whatever. The problem is, right, as well, because they had split strategy at Williams, you can't really... Like, Albon was in... I'm assuming what you mean by that is that Albon's fastest laps were quicker than Sainz, but Albon was in clean air. Sainz pitted, and the problem with pitting early, and we saw that with Piastri and Russell and Sainz, is you're stuck in traffic, you're stuck in dirty air, and unless you've got a big pace delta around Imola, you can only overtake in one corner, so you're spending the whole rest of the lap in someone else's dirty air. So, yeah, I mean, Albon staying out and Norris staying out as well, like... and Max, they all benefited because they had big gaps. There was about 10 seconds from Max to Lando. So that's enough of a gap for Lando to be in clean air. And it was about another 10 back from Lando to Albon, which meant Albon was running in clean air. So, look, whatever we say, I think it's a very fair conclusion to come to that they are incredibly close. And anyone saying... either otherwise, I don't know what I don't know what evidence there is to point that Sainz is way quicker than Albon or that Albon is way quicker than Sainz, because to me all the evidence points to them being the closest teammate pairing right now, I think. And not just because I predicted that at the start of the season, although that's kind of, I like that. Okay, right. Okay, let's crack on then. Let's have a look at bangers and clangers, shall we? Shall we reflect on who banged and who clanged the most this weekend? Starting with mine. Now, I'm giving myself 1.5 points out of 5, okay? Feel free to disagree. I make the rules, so deal with it. Race winner George, no. Banger drive Fernando Alonso, I'm giving that a point, okay? Because P5 in qualifying, out of the points, completely out. It's just luck. It's just bad luck. Alonso was running comfortably in the points, comfortably top 10, and he got completely shafted by bad luck and finishes P11. Fernando executed excellently in a car that's taken a big step. He definitely deserves a point for banger driver. I'm sorry, deal with it. Clango Bortoleto, no, wasn't a great race, but he did outqualify Hulkenberg. Banger team Mercedes, no. I was excited after George in qualifying, but in the race, they just did not. George seemed to feel like he had a problem with the back of his car, which maybe. And then Clanger Alpine, I'm giving myself half a point for that. I don't think they were the worst team this weekend. I think there was quite a clear worst team this weekend, but they were down there. And Gasly had good pace over a lap, and it was quick over a lap, that Alpine. But in the race, they were just nowhere. I also think that, Colapinto makes a mistake. That's on the driver. Gasly made a mistake as well when he was in front of Leclerc and kind of got scared off the track a bit. That's on Gasly. So in terms of the team's responsibility on that, it's not massively on Alpine, but they were just not quick package this weekend. Okay, not quick this weekend at all. So I'm giving myself 1.5 points. As for you, I've given you 1, so I win. Okay, did Piastri win the race? No. Was Kimi banger driver? No. He actually had a pretty stinky Grand Prix. Clanger Colapinto, I'm giving you a point for that, so well done. Yeah, I mean, he crashed big time in qualifying, was very passive lap 1, lost a bunch of positions. It wasn't a good start. He is a rookie, especially a rookie to this team, so you give him some benefit of the doubt there, but objectively, he was one of the worst drivers this weekend. Banger team Mercedes, no. Clanger team Aston Martin, no, definitely not. Aston was so unlucky. They did as a team. They didn't put a foot wrong, but big performance. Their drivers were extracting it. Stroll as well. Stroll running top 10 comfortably, and then just luck, man. Luck was tough. Colapinto had fastest lap. I mean, that tells us literally nothing. That's why they don't have a point for it anymore. So those are yours. These are mine. I got 1.5 points. You got 1. Have some of that. Deal with it. Get wrecked. Right. But what about bangers and clangers? What do we think from this weekend? Starting with mine. Who was my banger drive this weekend? As much as I would love to give all the plaudits and credit to Alex Albon, because he did do a very good job this weekend. He did maximise. There was so much going on with different tyre strategies and the safety car and VSC, and who knows what it could have been. Could it have been a podium? Honestly, you re-roll that race 10 times and different VSCs, different safety cars, he could absolutely have been on the podium. I did believe at one point, I was like, oh my God, could this actually happen? Could Alex be back on a podium, surely? But I've gone for Max Verstappen. I mean, look, the car was struggling Friday, and once again, this isn't the first time Red Bull have been able to turn around the car going into Saturday. Marginally off of pole position, so close with Oscar on Saturday, and then that move, just to get that move done, to position the car the way he did as well, position it in the middle of the road. So George wasn't able to get alongside Oscar, but also Lando wasn't able to get on Max's inside. He's just placed it perfectly and then just whipped it around the outside, obviously on the grippy part of the circuit, maximising that space, catching Oscar napping. Oscar's still young. He's still not the finished article. And I'm sure he will look back at that and be like, I shouldn't have let Max do that. I shouldn't have given Max the space to be able to do that, because Oscar was well ahead, right? But Max saw that gap and he took it, and that defined the race, right? Because I do think if Oscar had kept hold of that and had the clean air at the front, I think Oscar probably wins that race, because then they're probably using Lando as the early stopper. I mean, who knows, right? Maybe you don't know how that McLaren strategy would have changed, because they did split it, didn't they? As did so many teams. But yeah, so Max basically won the race with that turn, and yes, he got fortunate with safety car timings and blah blah blah. But that didn't make a difference. Max was winning that race. You know, like there's nothing the McLarens could have done to beat Max once Max got ahead and put a hell of a move on a hell of a driver. Is Oscar? He'll learn from that one, but Max definitely, you know, he showed him what a 4-time world champion can do. Big move, big overtake. Well done, Max. You are my banger driver for the 2025 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Your banger driver of 1,247 of you who voted is also Max Verstappen. 49% of you gave him the vote. 29% of you gave it to Alex Albon. I appreciate that. I respect that. The Albon glaze is alive and well. 13% of you gave it to Lewis Hamilton. Good recovery drive from Lewis, actually. Very good recovery drive from Lewis. That Ferrari in race pace, race trim was a completely different animal to what it was on Saturday. And then 2% Charles Leclerc. 2% Charles Leclerc snuck in there with a few banger drive votes, did old Charles. So, clanger drive next for me. I'm giving it Franco. Again, look, I get that he's a rookie just jumping into the car, blah, blah, blah. But like having a big shunt is not what you want to be doing like at the best of times. And I know Yuki also had a big shunt. And I would say like Yuki's transgression is worse than Franco's, because Yuki, like at least Franco got a lap in that actually got him out of Q1, right? Whereas Yuki didn't even get a lap in. But Yuki did recover well in the race to P10. And I have to more weigh my judgment on that, whereas Franco was very passive at the start of the race, lost a bunch of positions, and just, you know, his first race at Alpine, again, maybe it is harsh, but I just think that Yuki's recovery drive just about keeps him out of this for me, and Franco gets the nod for clanger this weekend, I'm afraid. And yours is also Franco, 28% of the votes, and then 9% Antonelli. And it was a difficult weekend for Kimi, actually. Obviously, the car broke down as well, which didn't help matters, but out in Q2 behind the Ferraris, and didn't really make many inroads, was kind of in front of Lewis for a lot of the race, to be fair. And you look at where Lewis finished, you know, maybe if Kimi hadn't broken down, it could have been a bit different. But yeah, I mean, Tsunoda, 9% as well, Lawson, 9%. Lawson was caught out, obviously, by the red flag in qualifying, which didn't help, and then wasn't able to make any inroads. Isaac starting in the top 10. Was able to do a lot more. So I get that. But yeah, I think Franco Colapinto for not been a great first weekend, but you know, you got to move on. Monaco next. And fingers crossed he can keep it clean. Banger team for me. And again, some of you are not gonna, you know, I don't know. The way I look at bangers and clangers is what is in the driver, what is in the team's control. And for me, it's clearly Aston Martin this weekend. Look at where they've been. Look at where they've been all season. They've been the worst car at many a weekend, even worse than the Sauber. And they put both their cars into the top 10 in qualifying, and they're running pretty comfortably in the top 10 during the race. They're like keeping pace. When Norris was harassing Russell at the start, Alonso was right there. He was on pace with Russell. And the only reason that both Aston Martins are not in the top 10 is just because of some terrible timing with the safety car, the VSC and all that. Like, the drivers did nothing wrong. The drivers executed, they you know, Alonso pitted before Stroll went longer. They were robbed of a way better result, and 11 and 15 does not represent the Aston Martin progress this weekend. So I'm giving it to Aston Martin, and I don't care that they didn't score. They did an incredible job of the things that they could control as a team and as a pair of drivers. So well done, Aston Martin. No points, but look, if the performance gets better and you don't get any points, then it's like, well, okay, the new upgrades are doing something. Things are starting to correlate, and then we get more ATR for next year because we'll finish 10th. So it's not all bad. I think Tomo has an Aston HQ tour soon. That's wrong, Matthew. I've actually already done a tour of the Aston Martin headquarters. Not to flex or anything, but it's just quite funny that you said that. You know what? It's mad. It's mad. The Aston Martin grades were up for once. All of the Aston Martin grades have either been side grades or downgrades for the longest time, and finally they've brought an upgrade. Wow, it's amazing. So for me, banger team Aston Martin. Pretty easy, actually, for me. Whereas you lot gave it to Williams for 57% of the vote, Ferrari 24, Red Bull 12, McLaren 6. Aston didn't even get your top 4. Like, I'm sorry. And look, I mean, Williams, great, yes, cool. You know, the one stop was the right strategy. They shouldn't have put in Carlos when they did. Bad strategy call. I get that a lot of teams made that strategy call. A lot of teams chose to split their drivers. But you got to say, if, and Carlos has said post-race, you know, he wasn't feeling the 2-stop. He considered overriding the team and just staying out. And obviously he wishes he did now. And we know Carlos has it in him to pull off his own strategies and actually make it work. We saw him do it many a time at Ferrari. So, I mean, it's a great weekend for Williams, of course, big points, but still, come on, I think it's Aston, surely. And 24% Ferrari, very good in the race. Just if they'd have qualified higher, who knows what they could have done this weekend. And, I mean, because Charles did a mad first stint, didn't he? Because he came out on those hard tyres and he was ahead of Russell. So he did a really good job at the start, did Charles. And then just the VSCs, the variables were crazy, super unpredictable. And some things you're in hindsight, like, yeah, teams should have done differently. But because it's hindsight, it's like, it's kind of unfair to hold that against teams. But there's other things that it's just like, yeah, you should have known beforehand. You should have at least gauged it and tried. And then 12% Red Bull, again, big job from the team, whether that's back at Milton Keynes or the race team or Max as the driver giving his feedback, because Friday was stinky and Saturday was simply lovely. McLaren 6% as well. I mean, double podium is still not a bad result, and constructors is a wrap for McLaren. It's a wrap. It's done. It's finished. And then finally, clanger team for me, it's Haas. Clearly, it's Haas. Both cars. Well, Ocon broke down. And Ollie, they put his wheel on wrong. So, yeah, I mean, Ollie was super unlucky in qualifying to not get that lap in, which would have put him P10 and got him through to Q2. Ocon qualified last. He was just slow. And then Ocon stopped really early onto the hard, which was weird. I've not got full context as to why Ocon stopped straight away. But apparently it was a choice. I don't know, a strange choice, but there you go. And then, they put Ollie's wheel on wrong, so then he had to come back in, and then Ocon broke down. It was just a horrific weekend for Haas, all things considered. So it's clearly Haas. And you've also said Haas. But I mean, 35% of you, this is mad. 35% of you gave clanger to Haas. 29% of you gave it to Aston Martin. So, look, I know Aston both finished outside the points. I understand that. But when we're doing these votes in different ways, because for me, I'm like, what is the team responsible for? What is the driver responsible for when I'm giving these? When there's bad luck, like, I'm not going to have a pop at a driver for having bad luck. I'm not going to have a pop at a team for having bad luck. When it's their own incompetence, when they've got bad pit stops, bad strategy, bad car, fine, give it to the team. But come on. Yeah, I've been rattled. My head's gone. My head's fully... In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Just to spite you lot. Right, there you go. And this is going to be a very... it's going to be a very subtle change, right? So, down we go. Up we go. In fact, actually, this hat works better this way around. Up the Aston, mate. Have some of that. Okay. We're going to do the rest of the podcast with this one on. All right? Lovely jubbly. So... those are your bangers and clangers. These are mine. So, I mean, you're wrong about Aston Martin. So mine are more correct than yours. Okay. Bribed by Lawrence. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the DBX I've got parked outside my house. All right, it's nothing to do with that at all. So, bangers and claims, my totals so far this season, I've really spread my banger drive votes, haven't I? Antonelli, Ocon, Hadjar, Russell, Leclerc, Piastri, and now Verstappen all have one each. Clangers, 3 for Lawson, then Stroll, Bortoleto, Tsunoda, Colapinto, and my clangers so far this season. Then banger team, 2 for Mercedes, 2 for Haas. Then Williams, McLaren, Aston Martin. Clanger teams, 2 for Ferrari, 2 for Haas. So Haas are up or they're down. They're like yo-yos. Haas, bless them. Alpine, Red Bull, Sauber for clangers. And then for yours, you've gone 2 Piastri, Antonelli, Verstappen, Leclerc, Albon for bangers, 4 Lawson, Stroll, Doohan for clangers. That doesn't add up, does it? That doesn't add up to 7. So I've obviously missed. Whatever. I must have forgot to do yours. That doesn't really matter that much. But of course I've forgotten to do something. It wouldn't be a Tommo stream without that, would it? It would not be a Tommo stream without that, would it? Right. Let's go. Let's return to the live chat, shall we? How we all doing there? Are we all happy and getting along and being good to each other? Thank you, Ragav, again for another super chat. I appreciate that. Just want to say I like Albon as Alex as a person. I'm sure you do. He's a great guy and a driver, and he has been driver of the year so far. Oh, even I wouldn't go that far. I actually, fair play, Ragav. I wouldn't actually say Alex has been driver of the year so far. I'd say Max has been driver of the year so far. But he's up there. But I just see more potential from Carlos. You know what? To be honest, Ragav, right? I said this at the start of the year. So the reason I said Williams drivers would be closest at the start of the year, because I was like, Alex is definitely going to have an advantage at the start of the year, at the very start. And then as Carlos gets settled, he's probably going to be stronger than Alex by the end of the year. And I also said, in my Glazing Alex Albon video, when it comes to a 26 or 27 title fight, I'd have to put my money on Sainz, because Sainz has won Grand Prix. He's put it on pole. He's more experienced fighting at the very, very front. And Alex, I believe he can win races. Absolutely. I absolutely believe he can do that. But to fight for a title, the consistency of Carlos as well, how measured he is. Alex can get a bit flustered on the radio. I think Carlos really does have... He's probably the most... I can't really think of many weaknesses. He's not got a great record in the wet, actually, as Carlos. But other than that, I can't think of many weaknesses that he's got. So, look, do I think that Carlos maximising his weekend is better than Albon maximising his weekend? Yes, I would agree with that. But I just think so far they are super close, and it's a great problem for Williams to have, and I'm loving it as an Albon fan, got to say. Thank you, LH, for the one on it. AM shafted themselves, wasting a medium in quali. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. It is a fair point. Obviously, using those mediums helps get them a really good qualifying position, because, of course, Aston's, they used mediums in Q2 and Q3, I want to say, didn't they? Because I know definitely in Q3, it was George, Fernando and Lance who did their laps on mediums. But then, obviously, you are taking life out of a tyre that you can no longer use for the full Grand Prix. And remember, this weekend was the C6 to C4s. So those medium compound tyres were the same compound as last year's softs at Imola. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair point, LH. It is a fair point, but I still think that it was the bad luck that hurt them more than any strategy choice they made or any tyre choice they made ultimately. And just given where Aston Martin have been so far this season, like, come on, I've got to give him some love. And thank you, Yvonne. Tommo is not on Aston Martin payroll. Thank you, Yvonne, from Aston Martin. I mean, not from Aston Martin, for telling them. Don't tell them about the brand deal with Aston Martin. Wow, I've got a DBX. I wish. That would be nice. I'm sure Han would love it if I came home in a DBX one day. Be like, Bosh. I like DBX, good car. Just as SUVs go. I'm not a big SUV guy, but DBX is nice. Thank you, Dan, as well, for the super chat. I just don't understand pitting Piastri into major traffic and then 3 laps later tell Lando the best plan is to go long. Reminds me of 2024 McLaren. Well, I guess maybe, Dan, that was maybe it was the realization that, oh, hang on, maybe we've cocked up here, because Piastri, we pitted him. They didn't pit him immediately into traffic, did they? But then he was catching Yuki, and it's like, that's the worst person to be catching, because obviously he's going to try and get his elbows out of it. He didn't really end up putting much of a fight. But I think a lot of teams worked out very quickly that actually if you just rode out that tough period on the medium tyres and got it through, whether it was graining up and you just needed to get through that graining, or whatever the reason it was, those mediums did come back to everyone going on that longer stint. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, they weren't the only team to do that, right? Obviously, Mercedes did it by pitting. George was the one who came in first, wasn't he? And then obviously Aston did it. They pitted Alonso. Which, yeah, I guess you could criticise them for. But even then, even with that, Alonso still should have been top 10 comfortably. Obviously, Ferrari did it with... they kept Lewis out, didn't they? So there was a few... And Antonelli stayed out for Mercedes as well, yeah, because he was ahead of Hamilton. So, yeah, I mean, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but... And I really wanted this to be a two-stop race for everyone, because two stops are there's more variables. It's generally more exciting, but they still managed to make it a bloody one-stop even with the C6 tyres. It would have been a comfortable one-stop if they'd have used C5 to C3 like last year, wouldn't they? Wouldn't it? But there you go. There you go. Tommo confirmed for the next James Bond role. Would you reckon? I definitely wouldn't be James Bond. I'd be one of those I'd just be like a random NPC just knocking about, who just James barges into, and I fall in front of a train or something. Probably that's the way I'd make my debut on the silver screen. Piastri asked for the two-stop and must have been panicked after Max mugged him on turn one. Yeah, no, you're right, he did. Yeah, Piastri thought that the two-stop was going to be the right thing, and again, I'm sure George thought it as well. You know, that's why he came in. He was so desperate to get off those mediums. They obviously just didn't have enough knowledge from practice, which for three full practice sessions, and we saw the Ferraris were quick in FP2. Yeah, I was surprised by how many teams got caught out by that, I guess. I was surprised. Okay, let's go team by team, shall we? Just to wrap up what happened. And again, look, I think Aston, you have to come away with an overall positive sentiment of their weekend. Both very strong in qualifying, both got into Q3, both running well in the race. Upgrades on this car for the first time for a long time. We saw differences in the side pods. One of the most changed cars, I want to say, in terms of one of the cars with the most upgrades coming into this weekend. Is it going to be Imola specific? Will they be able to maintain this kind of pace in terms of both cars being Q3 cars? Maybe. And this is where, Ferrari have to make sure they're finding something when they bolt on their full upgrade. In Barcelona, the flexi wing changes, that could really mix things up as well. Like Aston, it's an opportunity missed, ultimately. It's an opportunity missed, but it's good from we actually have a car that seems to actually be kind of decent now. Although, what's going on with Fernando's brakes? Why do they both catch fire at the same time? That was pretty strange, wasn't it? They just both combusted as he was driving out the pit lane, and obviously then put themselves out. And yeah, that was a quirk. I swear that's happened to Alonso once before, isn't it? I seem to remember Alonso's brakes catching fire randomly, and then he just carried on. Like, there's nothing going on. But yeah, well done Aston Martin. Well done Adrian Newey's lunch breaks, and please give Fernando a car to fight for a title next year, please. That'd be really nice. That'd be really, really nice. Okay. But yeah, not much more to say on Aston that I can think of. Well, I guess, yeah, and honestly, I think Lance did a good job this weekend as well. And he won't get the credit for it, but he did. He actually did a solid job relative to Fernando this weekend. Again, just unlucky in the race. Can't really say much more than that. Red Bull, look, I mean, Yuki now has had 5 Grand Prix, and there's been moments, and that's what I think Red Bull will be looking at, that there have been moments in practice and where he's shown good pace. It's a massive error. Like, it's a choice to push that hard. And I know the cars, the car was bouncing going into that corner, and then he took way too much curb. It's a very dramatic accident, which brings more scrutiny to it, I guess. But yeah, Yuki's got to start delivering now, because, 5 Grand Prix, Liam got 2, Yuki's had 5, and he's way more experienced, and he's just not being able to hook it up. We know it's a difficult car. We know this, and we know the Red Bull aren't going to spend loads of resource trying to make this car less difficult and more drivable, because, well, they can't afford it. Like, 26 is coming, and they've said it themselves. Like, they're focused on the driver's title, and Yuki's just kind of got to, play the hand he's dealt. And Yuki's always been very, on it and optimistic about taking this seat. And he's got to do better. He shouldn't have been starting at the back. He should have been at least in Q2. And with the Ferrari struggling as well, and like Antonelli struggling, like, I think there's a good chance for Yuki to get Q3 this weekend. And then in the race, maybe it's a top 5 or something. Like, who knows, right? It's a shame. It is a shame, because I love Yuki. I've got a lot of time for Yuki. I've been, invested in Yuki coins since early days, and I just really hope he can find something, because I don't think you can look at these first 5 races for Yuki in a Red Bull and be like, it's not been massively different. Like, compared to Gasly and Albon and Perez and Lawson, that relative gap, I'm not just talking about qualifying gap, I'm just talking about when you eye test it, when you eye test practice, when you eye test qualifying, when you eye test the races, it just feels like more of the same, which is, it's tough, because I want to see Yuki do well, I really do, but right now it's not made much of a difference. It really hasn't. But look, when you've got Max in the other car, this weekend he obviously did his GT3 running around the Nordschleife last weekend and set a lap record, and then he was doing, wasn't he iRacing, doing a red line thing this weekend, and put it on pole in that after qualifying P2 in the F1. He then goes on iRacing and does a Nordschleife quali pole lap by like a second, and then he wins the race on Sunday, and he's probably on iRacing again. Look, Max is, there's not enough superlatives to throw at Max's ability, and I'll be the first to admit, sometimes the way Max races and the choices he makes, because I believe he's always in full control, they annoy me as a racing fan. Sometimes when he's pushing people off, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, he only cares about winning. And sometimes doing that, actually, it's the right thing. Like in Mexico, getting ahead of Lando, staying ahead of Lando, actually paid dividends, and you take the penalty, and he knows what he's doing. He's very, very smart, and there's really not a weakness. He's been unbelievable this year. And if he wins this world title, I tell you what, that's crazy. Because, given the level that Oscar and Lando's getting catching a lot of strays as of late, but Lando's still a top racing driver, of course he is. For Max to still be there in right in this fight, and who knows, right, what's going to happen in Barcelona. I would not put it past Max to put a clutch lap in Monaco, find a way to put it on pole, and if you can do that, you win the race. So it's like, there is a 2-stop this year in Monaco, which I'm very excited to see how that potentially changes things. But yeah, Max is, Max ain't playing around. Feels like it's as good a Max as we've ever seen in his career, which is a scary prospect. And yeah, again, I think Oscar did get caught napping. I do agree with Villeneuve in that assessment. I think Oscar could have done more. But also, when you've got one of the greatest to ever Macca, when And I'm talking prime Schumacher, prime Vettel, prime Clark, prime Hamilton, prime Vettel, prime Alonso, all these guys. When they're doing their thing, that move is going to go down. When you look in the future, look back on Max's career and you look at some of those moments throughout his career where that star quality was like, wow. Because I don't think anyone else is putting off that move that he did today. That's one of those that makes the highlight reel, you know what I mean? And good to know that my, as Kai calls it, my North Korean Wi-Fi. It's Antarctican, it's North Korean. I don't know, it's not where I'm living, apparently. He's playing up again. But yeah, well done, Max. Unbelievable drive. Top job. Let's see what you can do in Monaco. Mercedes, disappointing, man. Disappointing. The team couldn't find anything wrong with George's car, but George was complaining about an issue with the rear end before even the race started. Pitted early, wasn't happy. Nowhere in the race. Kimi struggled as well. I'm really gassing up Mercedes going into this weekend. I thought the upgrades, they were going to be in a really strong place, and they just weren't. So, back to the drawing board, got to learn from what works, what didn't. I'd be surprised if there wasn't something up with George's car. Surely there was something up with George's car. Surely. But I don't know. And a shame for Kimi as well, because obviously home race for him, the belonging lad from just up the road, brought his schoolmates with him, which was crazy. Jeez. Well, make me feel old. Blimey. And look, we know Kimi's got it. We know he's a special talent, but George is a very, 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 very capable racing driver. He's one of the best in F1 right now, absolutely. And it was, just weren't at it this weekend. He was really annoyed with Oscar, wasn't he, at the start? Because I think, well, he was saying in his post race he expected Oscar to kind of block Max off, but maybe Oscar could have. When I watch it back after and I see the gap that Oscar could have moved over to the right a bit more and still not given George a full car width on the inside, but made it a bit less easy. But again, I just don't think Oscar was even thinking Max would try it, which was a mistake straight away. So I think, that's why George was a bit miffed. That's a word he'd use, so I'm going to use it, miffed. George was miffed that Oscar didn't cover off Max a bit more, didn't he? Lordy Lord. Oh, goodness, crikey, gracious me, George. But I'm expecting more from, I think Monaco, I'm just going to kick that gas canister, as in gassing them up, down the road to Monaco. I think they're going to cook there. Williams. Yes, I mean, look, it feels like now science is up to speed. Very tight in qualifying between Carlos and Alex. What is the gap? Let me have a look. So it was 0.041. Right, so here we go. So these are the quali gaps between Albon and Sainz. So it was 0.041 advantage Sainz this weekend, then 0.113 advantage Sainz last weekend, then 0.040 advantage Albon the week before that, then 0.085 advantage Carlos the week before that. It is super, super close between the two of them. It's again, the average over the course of the whole season, but that's including Alex doing some significant, jobs on Carlos at the start is 0.084. But they're basically the same over a lap. And again, this only 7 weekends, so I think there is still a little bit more to come from Carlos, which is where we're going to really see, can Alex keep this momentum and not allow Carlos to kind of start chipping away? Because I've got to be honest, I am somewhat, as a fan, as a just pure Alex Albon, fandom, I am a little bit concerned that Carlos will continue to get even quicker in this Williams. But I think Alex has got it in him to keep up with Carlos. So I do. I really do. But yes, very good from Carlos. Shame, should have been more points, could have been more points, but either way, the car's in a really good place. Really impressive from the pair of them. I guess, should we talk about the Albon Leclerc incident? I'm not going to bother polling it because I kind of just want to talk about it. So, of course, Alex was chasing Leclerc down and on the outside, he's ahead of Leclerc going into the braking zone. Obviously, Charles carries more speed than Alex, which then means they're like alongside. I've looked at it back. You can look back at it yourself. They are alongside, and even with these stupid rules, right, which I don't like, right, where you unless you're literally there. Albon was just. That's what almost annoys me more. He was just about alongside enough that there's a reason Ferrari gave this place back, right? Because Ferrari, obviously, they were more concerned about Charles getting a penalty and dropping 5 seconds, which would have put him back a couple of positions, and thought actually it's probably not worth it because we think we're probably going to get a penalty for that. They might not have. They might not have got a penalty, Ferrari, but Ferrari chose to be like, right, we're going to take control of the situation. We're going to ask Charles to give the position back. And Alex had a good run anyway on that final lap on Charles, so maybe he'd have got it done anyway. But I think that the fact that kind of move, like, the fact that kind of move, and the thing is, Charles, literally, he said on the radio, he was like, isn't this how we go racing now? Like, I think Charles, not as a racer, he knows, like, that's not the kind of move he wants to be able to do. But the rules basically say if you're on the outside, you have like 0 rights, all right? And Alex was so far alongside that he was just about, I think Charles still would have got a penalty if they hadn't given the position back. But I think it was so marginal, actually. But that should never be marginal. When you're like fully alongside, obviously you shouldn't be allowed to push the other driver off the track. Like, obviously you shouldn't. And I don't give a damn about these stupid rules. It's like, it's so dumb. Like, you look at any other racing series, and this kind of racing is not like allowed. No one respects it. Like, it's ridiculous. And it means that you're getting drivers like Charles, who's an incredible driver in racecraft. That's probably his biggest strength. Pulling moves like that because he's like, well, yeah, that's what I understand the rules to be. And he was almost kind of in the right by the letter of the ruling. I think they would have given him a penalty. We won't know. I don't know. Have the FIA said anything about, like, would they have given Charles a penalty? I've not seen anything. But yeah, I just think that it's just the fact that there's even a debate as to whether that is a fair piece of defending is insane to me. Having watched racing my entire life, various different disciplines, not just F1, like, and if you get out of this F1 bubble that we're in, you look at any other series, they're all laughing at F1 because it's like, how is this kind of racing allowed where you can just push people off? If you pull that nonsense off in an iRacing lobby, even on the sim, you're gonna get laughed out of the room, right? But that is the rule book that we're in at the moment. And I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, it's Max's fault, blah blah blah. Max will always push the rules, but you can't, like, the reason Max does it and the reason Charles did it is because that's how the rules are now written, okay? And if you're going to change the rules and allow the rules to be this way, you have to, I put 100%, because the drivers are going to be selfish. They're only looking out for themselves, as they should. You have to put the entire responsibility on those who are writing the rules and allowing this kind of racing to be even a thing that we even debate. It's honestly, exactly. Max didn't make the rules, right? You play to the rules, you play to the whistle, and sometimes you get punished for it, sometimes you don't. Even Charles said post race, he was like, that was absolutely on the edge, and I'll have to look at it back. Maybe I was in the wrong. Like, he was like, I don't think I was, but he was very open to being like on reflection. But yeah, I just think it's mad. So I think it's obviously Lewis then got through. Lewis was on the quicker tyre, so I think there was definitely a P4 there for Alex. I think if there wasn't that late safety car, I think Alex is, for Antonelli, I think Alex does hold on to P4. Lewis was catching him, but not quickly enough, I don't think, to beat Alex to P4. But then obviously Antonelli broke down. So yes, I'm still, like, as an Albon fan, I'm still super happy with P5 and super happy with his performance. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Like, again, there are two separate things, right? Can I look at the rules as they are and understand why Charles thought that he could do that and thought he might get away with it. Yes, I can understand why Charles would think that, because he was on the inside. Alex was, and they're going so quick through these corners, right? It looks slow on camera, but they're not slow at all. Like, it's fine margins, and Charles trying it, and I completely understand why Charles might think he can, and maybe they wouldn't have punished. That's the thing. Maybe they wouldn't have given him a penalty. Maybe that was actually fair in the writing of these rules. But that to me is absolutely insane, that we're in a position where you can just allow that to happen, and like, this is where the rules are. All right, and now somebody be, he's only crying because it's Albon. He's only crying. He wouldn't have these tears if it was for someone else. If you've been here long enough, you know I've not been happy with these rules for the longest time. And just get consistent stewards who are ex-drivers, who are respected individuals. Just pay whatever Seb wants. However many bee farms he wants getting put up, do it. Get Seb as the head of the race stewards, and then get some other ex-drivers from different teams, De La Rosa, bloody, I don't know, Yuji Ide, maybe not him. Who cares, right? And just have the same people every weekend that have dialogue with the drivers, who don't have this super like, if you're head at the apex, blah, blah, blah. Like, just, why? It's just annoying. It's just annoying to me. But there you go. Well done, Williams. Good points on the boards. Let's move on to McLaren. Now, this is interesting, right? So, we talk often about British bias in the media. Now, I've got to be honest. Most of the time, I think that is an overly used term, in my opinion. I think it is, and because it is used so often, it kind of loses any. It's like the boy who cried wolf. You know the old thing, like, there's a wolf. Oh no! Turn up, no wolf. Ha ha. Oh, okay, right. I'm going back. And then next time, there's a wolf. Everyone, oh no, no wolf. And then there's an actual wolf, and then kids, oh no, there's a wolf, and everyone else is like, nah, I don't believe you. Just crack on. Wolf comes down, eats everyone. Yum yum yum. Job done, right? Toto runs down the hill because Toto Wolf gobbles them all up. Lovely jubbly, right? The reason I say this is because to me, okay, this whole should McLaren have reversed the positions for Lando to go for the win? No, like I don't understand why it felt like so many people in the broadcast were saying that, like, Lando should be allowed to fight Max for the win. I'm like, hang on, whoa, hang on. Right, so Constructors' title is a wrap. It's done. McLaren have already won it, basically. Right, they've got two drivers fighting. Even if they just keep getting 2-3s and Max wins all the races, they're going to easily win the Constructors, okay? So Constructors is done. Don't even have to think about that, okay? So then it's just about driver's title, okay? Oscar's ahead of Lando. Obviously, they're not going to ask Oscar to let Lando pass to go for the win, because obviously Lando's Oscar's biggest title rival in terms of points anyway. And then obviously not. Like, yeah, and Oscar had cooked tyres anyway. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand why you would even think that Oscar would let Lando pass to go for the win. Of course he's not gonna. It's not about the Constructors' title. There's only the Driver Championship. Exactly, Mikel. I don't understand why that would even come into anyone's mind, okay? Oh, and Dusko, I do this live and have a chat because I do occasionally engage with chat. A lot of the time I engage with chat, and sometimes I don't, and that's fine. It's, if you don't like it, sorry. I don't. Of course, McLaren aren't going to ask Oscar to move over. Why would Oscar move over? To let Lando potentially win the race? No. Like, obviously not. I don't even know, like, why. People say, oh, yeah, well, yeah, okay, McLaren could have won the Grand Prix, sure. But, like, also, if Lando's going to take as many laps as he did to pass Oscar on cooked old tyres, obviously he's not going to pass Max. Like, who's on fresh rubber himself. Like, no, I mean, that felt like a real stretch, you know? That felt like a real stretch. That Lando was like entitled to have a go for the win. Yeah, I don't believe that at all. I think Lando pulled a really good move on Oscar. Really good move. It was close. Oscar just about gave him enough room. Lando was more than entitled to the room because he got even more ahead of Oscar than Alex did Charles. It was definitely more comfortable a move. Although, to be fair, you got to say, when you look at the overheads, Alex is ahead of Charles, similarly into the braking zone than what Lando is to Oscar, but obviously Charles carries a bit more speed to try and get as alongside at the apex as he can, whereas Oscar, you're fighting your teammate, so you're not gonna, you're not gonna be a knob about it, you know what I mean? So yeah, like, I think great move from Lando, really good, and yeah, obviously Oscar shouldn't have given him the position. Obviously Oscar should have taken it on track and the old-fashioned way, and he did, and closes the gap to Oscar by a bit. He just needs to look. Lando's race, you can question Lando's racecraft, and he pulled some good moves this weekend. You can definitely question that. I think race pace, Lando is excellent. I think he's really good at managing the tyres, really good at pummeling laps in consistently. It's Saturday that's hurting him at the minute. He knows it. And we'll see in Monaco. It's all about Saturday in Monaco. So if Lando can pull out a big lap in Monaco and put it on pole, I'll tell you what, that could be a real momentum shift for him. Because, you know, Monaco pole is probably the most impressive pole of the year in terms of most impressive track to pull out a pole position. So, yeah, I want to see that because I want to see this title fight go the distance, you know, and I think Lando, a confident, happy Lando, is a quick Lando. And if he can, you know, he's beaten Oscar this weekend, and, you know, there's some luck involved, sure, with, you know, split strategies and that. But, you know, if you can pull it out the can in Monaco and put it on pole and win the race, then I think that's very good news for Lando Norris's title fight. Absolutely. And maybe it won't happen, but maybe it will. You never ever know. Racing Bulls. Yeah, so obviously, like I say, Lawson hurt by the red flag in quali, made very little progress in the race. I think he had some unfortunate timing with the VSC. It didn't kind of work out net in his favour. And then Hadjar, yeah, I mean, Hadjar did a really good job again in a race. He's been really strong in that Racing Bulls car. It's clearly a car that can enable drivers to get the best out of themselves in it. We saw it from Tsunoda at the start of the year, driving very well in that car, has jumped into the Red Bull and hasn't been able to show much. Hadjar now doing a great job, and you just think, like, it's so clear that your performance in the Racing Bulls, Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, V-Car, whatever you want to call it, does not correlate to how you will perform in the Red Bull. Like, it just doesn't. We've seen that far too many times. What makes sense now for me is to keep Yuki in that Red Bull for the rest of the season. You've got a whole new car in 26, and Red Bull need to make sure that they don't design a car in 26 that only Max can get the seat to the ceiling of. That's what they need to do for 26. They need to make sure that doesn't happen. And maybe, you know, Newey's moved on now, and there'll be slightly different people in charge in terms of the engineering point of view. I think that there's no point changing. Yeah, give Yuki till the end of the year, 100%. And then in 26, give Yuki the start of the year in this new car, because we know how good Yuki can be. We know we're not seeing that from him right now. The performances he put in the Racing Bulls, and Hadjar's putting in the Racing Bulls right now. Miguel, I did not invest in Hadjar stock at the start of the season. I missed the boat on Hadjar stock, I've got to be honest. I think I've done well on Yuki coin, but Hadjar token has not been... I've missed that, all right? Fair play to anyone who got Hadjar token in early doors. Arvid Lindblad as well. I mean, yeah, he's what, 4th, 5th in F2 at the minute. So he's having a pretty solid rookie season. I kind of do worry for Liam a bit. I think with the amount of praise they've put on Hadjar, I think unless Liam really has a strong end to the year, he could be in danger with Lindblad lurking. But yeah, all in all, it's really strong from Hadjar. Yeah, he said post-race, he kind of maximised. He couldn't have really done much more. Strategy was good. Pit stop timing was decent. Like, he was pretty happy with the team. He was very frustrated with himself, wasn't he? When he cocked up his lap in qualifying, he was absolutely hammering his steering wheel. But got a lot of time for Hadjar. Seems like a good lad. So well done, Isaac. Liam, I've got a lot of love for Liam. I want to see more, though. He needs to put in bigger performances. Otherwise, he's in trouble. Haas, wow, absolutely nowhere. Yeah, again, Ollie's super unlucky in qualifying. And then Ocon breaks down and they don't put Ollie's wheel on properly, which shameful because Ollie was actually running quite well in the race. When he came out of the pits, he was like in George's vicinity. So Ollie could have, he could have been an outside shot for a top 10 actually, for Behrman, but they didn't put his wheel on properly, so he had to come back in, which is a shame. Yeah, Haas are super. Haas have been the most, well, Haas and Ferrari, I think, are the most up and down teams this season, probably, I'd say. But actually, in terms of positions, Haas can be the 10th best team or the 5th best team. So actually, Haas probably have the biggest range over the course of the season so far, because yeah, they've been proper up and down. And like you say, yeah, he was 10th if not for the red flag as well. So I think Ollie could have definitely got points this weekend if that quali lap hadn't been taken off him. If he gets a bit more luck in the race in terms of the team actually putting his wheel on properly. So yeah, a mixed bag because Ocon was nowhere and obviously broke down as well. So yeah, I still don't know what was up with that pit stop lap one, Lowell. I really don't. Ferrari, I mean, it's just one of them, isn't it? Like, you can have all the race pace in the world, but if you're not putting the lap in if you're not putting in a lap in qualifying good enough to get into Q3, let alone anywhere near the top, in this quali formula where the dirty air's filthy, you're not going to stand a chance. And the safety cars and all that worked, more than they didn't for Lewis and didn't really work out for Charles. They need to find something. Hopefully, it's true that most of their upgrades are coming in Spain. But if they're going to have any sniff at this title, then they have to hope that changes things rapid, because it's not good enough. Yeah, Lewis seemed pretty happy after the race, which is nice to see because he hasn't been very happy for a lot of this season so far. Even though he's, got that sprint race win, but yeah, it's just not been good enough. Been very frustrating, and I feel for I feel for Charles, man, because like Lewis has taken a gamble. It's the end of his career. He's won 7 world titles. If he doesn't win another one, okay, he's still going to be on paper one of the greatest of all time, statistically the greatest of all time. But Charles, man, Charles, I think he's such a good driver. I've got so much love for Charles. I think he's an unbelievable talent. And just the pain, you want it to be at Ferrari, for him to have his success at Ferrari, because it's Ferrari and there's so much meaning and love for that team. And everyone's a Ferrari fan, right? To say this, I think it's true. You want it to happen at Ferrari, but it just makes you think, is Ferrari going to be able to give Charles the title that I think he deserves? I don't know if will Charles ever leave, I don't know. Does he need to leave to get that personal accolade that he so deserves? Even just one world title, I think he deserves more. I think his talent is good enough that he wins multiple titles. I really do. I put him, on his day, I put him right up there with Max. I really do. I think he's absolute generational. But he's just, the equipment's always seemed to let him down. Where would he go? It's a good question, Guerrero. I think for so many drivers, we'll see in 26. I think it makes sense for Max to stay put at Red Bull for 26 to see where the lie of the land is. And then if Red Bull were nowhere, who's cooking? You know, who's smashed these new regs and then go there for 27? And I would say the same about Charles Leclerc. I would. Modern day lazy, maybe. Lazy's before my time, but yeah, Lazy never won a title, did he? And he was pretty well regarded at Ferrari. So yeah, I mean, Charles just such a driver, man. Top driver, but yeah, it's just not working out, is it? I've not got much hope for Monaco. We're just banking everything on Spain, basically. New flexi wings, maybe that'll make a difference as well. Alpine, of course, we also had Ollie Oakes knocking about the paddock this weekend. Turns out he didn't go on the run in Dubai. There was some mad stories about him going on the run in Dubai and Interpol and all this like nonsense on Twitter. And basically, he's now just fully in charge of High Tech. Obviously, High Tech run F2, F3. They run, and I think the reason he was in Dubai is because the Middle Eastern F4, I think it is, have High Tech. I could be wrong there. And yeah, so Ollie Oakes was actually in the paddock this weekend, just as a High Tech team principal. We still don't know for sure if it's anything to do with his brother getting arrested, why he's not team principal at Alpine anymore, but it is what it is. And Colapinto's in the seat, replacing Doohan. There was the race director cut into Jack after Colapinto had his crash was peak TV, wasn't it? And yeah, I think Gasly, good quali. Yeah, big mistake in the race going wide. Early doors with Charles breathing down his neck. And again, Colapinto quite passive at the start. I was expecting more of a race result from the Alpine boys, especially Gasly, given their one lap pace. But then over a race distance, they just didn't seem to have it, did they? So both drivers going off into the gravel. Yeah, it was a stinky one, wasn't it? It wasn't great. Not much to say. Not much to write home about for Alpine, which I wasn't massively surprised about. Hence why I predicted it and got half a point, which means I beat you in bangers and clangers. So well done, me. And then finally, Sauber. Hulkenberg almost frauded his way to a point, didn't he? The safety car, VSC thing, situation, all of that. Hulkenberg kind of benefited from that. Bortoletto qualified. Well, he got into Q2, but he didn't really make any inroads in the race. Ronaldo and original Ronaldo was not CR7 Ronaldo, was knocking about the paddock, which is quite cool. Celebrating with Bortoletto this weekend. I think Bortoletto's he's settled in. He doesn't look out of his depth at all. I think he's been a steady rookie. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Kimi's had probably the highest high of any rookie, right? Putting it on pole in Miami in the sprint. But, Bortoletto's been very good. I think Hadjar's probably been the most impressive rookie. I think Behrman's been good. Obviously, Bortoletto, Behrman, Hadjar, Antonelli have all done well. I think Lawson's it's not been great for Liam, has it? And then Jack, as much as I think he deserved more races, I also didn't think... I think he could have done more to make his position undroppable. R9, of course, yeah. Old Ronaldo. R9, of course it is. But yeah, I mean, let's just hope that Audi, being on that car next year, Vorsprung Dirk Technik, whatever it's called, does the business. Do you think Gabriel can extract more from this car? Probably not, Eduardo. That's the thing. It's... Probably not. The machinery, it's so hard to make a judgment on a rookie. Like George Russell when he was at Williams, at the back. It's really hard to actually know where their performance is. But then George showed when he got that shot in the Mercedes what he can do. And I think Bortoletto, you chuck him in a top car, I think he does a really good job. I do. I wasn't going to call him that, Ed, but there you go. I wasn't going to call him. I'm not going to repeat what you've said in live chat, but oh dear, 1 hour 30 discussion. I know, right, Mohammed? I know, it's crazy. Well, I think unless there's anything else in the live chat, is there anything I've not covered? Is there anything I've not spoken about from this 2024 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix? Was there anything going on that we? I'm trying to remember if there's anything I've forgotten. I don't think so. I've kind of covered everything. Yeah, but Russell almost qualified the Williams on pole that one time. Yeah, Alphonse, but that was in some crazy weather as well, wasn't it? And obviously, when it rains, I mean, Lance Stroll got a pole in the rain. The rain is the great equaliser, but also over a lap in particular, it can also be, rains at different parts of the track, and it's really, really hard to it's not like it's consistent rain across the entire track for every single person, So, yeah, what can I say? Goodbye to Imola. Yeah, maybe. Look, I think Imola is a classic track, and I don't have the sentimental attachment to it to be like, it really needs to stay. If it was replaced by some, nasty street circuit, like if they were replacing Imola with the Madrid in Madrid, no. If they were replacing Imola with Hockenheim, yes. Or Kyalami, yes. Or Sepang, yes. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. It does have a vibe to it, Imola. And maybe, I don't know how much of a difference these smaller cars in 26 will make. I think the power units, I'm just scared of these power units just making it really bad, to be honest, which is not good for anyone. But remains to be seen. Adelaide, I don't think Adelaide's going to happen, is it? Realistically. Best race of the year, do you reckon? I reckon that was the best race of the year. Nah, surely not. Flavio denying Franco has 9 races. I know, Reina, crazy. Yeah. If you didn't see that, obviously in the Alpine official statement when they announced Colapinto, they literally said in their official statement that he's got 5 races, and maybe more, but I think they just said 5 races. And then Briatore this weekend was like, oh yes, something said 5 races, but that's not true. The official team statement said it, Flavio. Are you crazy? Jesus. Did you see? I did see the Madrid on board, and it was not pretty, trolls. It was not pretty. Although apparently Carlos Sainz is doing a show run around it in a Williams at some point, so that'd be interesting. Also, yeah, Indy 500 tonight, isn't it? I've not really been keeping. I know McLaughlin had a crash. Herta had a big crash, flipped it. Scary, man. I'm no wonder a lot of these F1 drivers are not interested in doing the Indy 500 because you've got to have cojones for that, ain't you? Right, okay. I'm going to wrap it. Thank you all for joining me. Hour and a half post-race chinwag. Lovely jubbly. Really appreciate you all taking the time. Thank you to everyone who's joined me in the live chat. Darth, Matthew, Matt, PP, Eduardo, Alexic, Bones, Metcalf, Freya, Dino, Burko, fill in the blanks, The Wood, Fantastic, Frog, Loel, Burko. That is a wrap. Indeed, it is. Have I missed any super chats? I don't think I have. Remember to like the stream, Daniel Metcalf. DB5. What I wanted. Do you want DB5? DB5 is actually really slow, isn't it? I remember watching something about James Bond saying you remember when the Astons, the DB5s chasing the Ferrari down the mountain, and it was in real life the Ferrari would just drive off. But there you go. It's a pretty car though. It's a pretty car. Thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like if you're here on YouTube and comment down below as well. Please comment for the algorithm and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. Give it a rating, 5-star. Let me know what you think about my terrible takes. We're back to back to back. Monaco this weekend. A very exciting Grand Prix for me, hopefully. Should know more tomorrow, personally, about something that's potentially happening, which would be amazing. So I might be there. But I'm not going to say too much. I've already said too much. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. All that. Ta-da. Bye-bye. Adios. Ciao. Ciao. Arrivederci.